Dina, thank you very much for your time.
You're most welcome.
We've been discussing a lot about Sanskrit, and one of the things that's come up in my research, and you mentioned something about it, was our dear friend Max Muller.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems to me that he's definitely unhinged the Sanskrit language as a professional career. Do you know much about Max Muller?
Yes, these are things that I've heard and read in certain places. I have to admit, I haven't taken the trouble to fully explore and verify all of them. But some are believable. Like one is a letter he wrote to his wife in which he said that I'm doing this work of translating, or I would say mistranslating the Vedic scripture so that every Hindu who reads it will become a Christian. He spent 30 years to mistranslate the Rig Veda because the British found out that they realized that the root of the Indian civilization and culture was the Vedic literatures. So they actually paid him so much money to make him the richest man in the world, apparently, to do this job because it was so hard to learn Sanskrit. As I mentioned to you the other day, the history of linguistics can be, the study of linguistics in the Western world can be traced out to the date that the first Sanskrit book of grammar was translated to English and reached the shores of England. So when they began to have the tools to start studying and analyzing language, they were shocked to find that Sanskrit was much more advanced than Latin and German, the other two mother languages. And so they realized these things had come from India. So they fabricated through, I believe through Max Muller, this Aryan invasion theory, for which there was no evidence at all, just to create the impression that Sanskrit language and Hindu culture or religion was brought into India by Europeans.
So that seems to me to correlate also with this idea that the British Empire's red brick schools, the red brick universities, as I understand it, in order for your children, if you're a Hindu, for your children to go to one of the British established schools, as I understand it, they made the Bible the book for spelling.
Oh.
So in other words, that you were tested on your ability to understand English by using the Bible as the reference point.
I see.
So it's like a double-edged sword. They're cutting the children down, making them understand a Christian book, not their own natural book,
Yes.
Bhagavad Gita. And at the same time, they've hired an Englishman or an English-speaking person. Muller seems to be German rather than...
Yes, he was German, but he was, I think, even today, I think in Germany you can get a PhD in Sanskrit, and there is so much, like my grandmother's centerpiece on her altar, picture of Krishna, beautiful picture of Krishna, which I put it on my name card. When she passed away, my father went and took that picture home to our house, and the old frame was falling apart. And he was surprised when he was redoing it to find at the bottom it said printed in Germany 1930 something or other. And I've heard, I haven't verified, but I heard that Hitler was pushing for research for the atomic bomb because he believed the Vedic scriptures, and he believed therefore that the, what do you call that? Atomic
Astra?
Yeah, which Astra?
Brahmastra.
He believed that the Brahmastra was a nuclear weapon, that, and so that there was some power, great power there that could be released. And he was, so there has been a lot of interest amongst Germans. And also because the German language is German, Latin and Sanskrit, I have heard from professors of linguistics, are the three mother languages. So those who know German can very easily pick up Sanskrit, because they're complex languages. All three of them are very complex, but they are identical in their structure. So they must be, it's deduced that they must be complex. If they were not complex and identical, then you might have a doubt, that okay, maybe it just happened to be. But if something's very complex and yet identical, with the exception, as I mentioned the other day, that Sanskrit is more complex than the other two, because in terms of plural, they have singular number, dual number as well, and plural, which Latin and German don't have. They only have singular and plural forms of each word.
So you seem to have travelled around the world quite a little bit, not extensively.
So much, no.
Can you tell me any time where in different countries you've recognised words that seem to be the same? As in Sanskrit.
There are so many such words. I think a lot of work has been done in that field. Well, in Indian languages, definitely. All Indian languages, with the exception of Tamil, have been derived from Sanskrit, you know. So I can guess what a person is saying in India. I don't know any Indian language actually, but I can guess because so many of the words but I can't tell you whether he spoke in Gujarati or Marathi or something, but I can guess what he's saying because so many of the words are very similar to Sanskrit. But in English, many words like bhratru means brother in Sanskrit. In English, is brother. And pitru, father, we say peta, or father, and matru, mother. And the Malay language has got many of its words in Sanskrit. Like swami means husband, istri means wife, meja means table, karusi means chair. These words are used in Hindi language today also.
What about the 7 days of the week? Do you know the names of the 7 days of the week?
Oh yes, like the first Monday is moon, right? So in Somvar, and then Budhva, Tuesday, some things like a little similarity. But I haven't done too much research in this particular field. But I met some scholars who are doing this type of work in Pondicherry, in the Aurobindo Ashram. There's one in particular, I remember Professor, his name slips my mind now. Yeah, but he knows so much about phonetics technically. You know, my expertise is just like hands-on from the field up, not the book basis. You know, but some of my friends who are supporting me in the work that I'm doing, they are encouraging me to become more scholarly and study the actual grammar and all these other things. But it seems the experience I've had, because most people who from India who learn Sanskrit, their sense of phonetics is with them since their birth. So they just take it naturally. And that's another reason why they can't even notice their own defects. And that I'm able to notice and point out. Because mine is like so fundamental. I'm actually like a tape recorder. As I'm reading, I'm trying to read like a kindergarten child. And then I have to see, because I see the sound, I put my tongue there. But others who sort of know it, they just recognize it and go on, you know. So it has an interesting aspect, that the ability to self-correct. You've been through the course now.
Yes.
So you'll start to notice it yourself as you go on also. Well, they are like Grandfather Bhishmadev, you know, salt in the blood. You know that thing?
No.
Draupadi was laughing when Grandfather Bhishmadev spoke the Vishnu Sahasranam. And he's giving advice to Dharmaraj, Yudhishthira, how to be a righteous king, and that, no, you are free from fault. And she's laughing, and Grandfather Bhishma, why are you laughing? She said, where was Dharma when I appealed to you to help me when they were stripping me naked? He said, my dear Draupadi, at that time I was eating the food from Duryodhana's table. So my blood was contaminated by the salt from his food. But can't you see, now I'm on this bed of arrows, all that blood has been drained out, now I can speak the truth again.
All I had to do was die. Or nearly die.
Yeah.
Now, you said you're from Singapore.
Yeah.
And so there must be some Indian culture there, because the Singapore seems to me would mean place of the lion.
Yeah. Well, His Holiness Tamil Krishna Maharaj said that this must be Lord Narasimhadev city. But there's a strange history. The name is ancient. The name was there in the 14th, 15th century, and maybe earlier. But there are maps from that era. Singha means lion, and Pur means city or town. But the immediate history, there is no connection, because in the year 1819, because of the great vision of Sir Stamford Raffles, Singapore was established as a trading post. But it's 75% swampland, 2 fishing villages with 134 fishermen population, that was it. When the British bought it for £50 from the King of Johor. Johor is the southernmost state of Malaysia, which is just next door. In those days you could practically walk across with low tide, you know. The Straits of Singapore, Straits of Johor in between, it's just 3/4 of a mile. Now there's a bridge connecting. So there was but there had been some Indian civilization there, or Hindu civilization I should say, before. But because of certain wars that happened between the kings in maybe Indonesia and Malaysia or whatever, that island had been deserted, and for many centuries it was idle until the British. The reason Sir Stamford Raffles set it up was it's the center of the Spice Islands, and because we are protected by about 200 islands, the water is always calm, so the Singapore port is never ever closed. Ships can always come in and dock. And also because of all the islands around it, it's very easy to protect the area, because even today it's infested with pirates, the whole area. So Singapore and the Straits of Malacca between Sumatra and Malaysia is a very narrow strip, so the ships can come in from India quite safely. So it's because of the seaport location that Sir Stamford Raffles set up a trading post. He wrote to the king or queen asking permission to establish a trading post, and he brought the civil service in from Kerala, and he wrote there that we'll bring them in from Kerala because of their philosophy of karma yoga. Even if you don't pay them any money, still they'll work sincerely. Exploitation of. And
so this was under the Queen Victoria and Prince Albert rule.
I guess, was it 1819?
I think so. I'm pretty sure, because that's when Victoria was set up.
I see.
In the 1800s.
And yeah, so he said, and that's why, Sir Stamford Raffles is honored as the founder of modern day Singapore. But it was entirely created by the British, because as I said, there was nothing there, civilization-wise. But archaeologically, they found on Fort Canning, which is near the hill in the city, when they were clearing the top of the hill to make a fortress, they found a temple buried there in ruins. And then many places on the same hill, they found symbols of the head of a lion.
So it may not have
There was
been...
no deity. There was an altar there, but the deity was not there.